Good evening. This is John Warren, publisher of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint newspaper, coming to you with our program from the desk of the editor. Here in studio with Dr. Leonard Thompson as we partner with GOD Radio, and we come to you offering an open mic opportunity to have discussion of current issues, raise questions, look for answers, hear comments that you might have. If you wish to join us, you may do so by dialing 858-251-6111. That's 858-251-6111. Or you may go to godradio1.com, and we are streaming this, and we'd be very happy to have your questions or comments. So we have an open mic approach again. We have a number of issues, and as you know, the Voice and Viewpoint is not only print, but we're electronic. We publish news bites several times a week. We now have an app that you can download in the Apple or Google store, and we have a promotional activity going that if you download the app and sign up for our news bites, which you can pull up at any time, then we will put your name in a drawing, and sometime next month, we're going to give away some cash as a result of that. $200 first prize, $100 second prize, and $50 third prize. And so, but you do have to sign up with your email, and you have to download the app in terms of making your sign up complete. And so, with that said, I don't need to remind you that we serve all of San Diego County. Now that the paper is available on the internet at no cost, it's also available to churches every Sunday, to senior facilities, and still people may subscribe if they choose to have it in the mail. In terms of, many of us want hard copies, so we do that as well. So, Dr. Thompson, we got a lot to talk about this evening because we have a great number of things going on, and we are at the point where we need people to know that there's more happening in the world than the trials of Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I just want to start off by saying that, I'm a little offended and heartbroken that I was disqualified from entering the drawing to download the app and get in the running just because I was ahead of the game and already had the app and everything.
Yeah.
I just think it's unfair. I was going to take my app off my phone and bring it back so I
Yeah.
could qualify, but I got disqualified. But it is very exciting that we are doing things on social media with the app and everything else to really impact. A lot of times people say that their life is in their hand because they have their phone and their money and all the
Everything.
information. And so we're trying to make sure that we give a great news source for you, because some of the news sources, what they call fake news. And we want to make sure that we're not allowing fake news to go forth, but we're giving you an opportunity to hear and to be a part of something that is going to be on the cutting edge. So, I'm taking my lumps as we go. Anybody out there that would just want to make a donation, because I can't get in the drawing, just call the brother up.
Yeah. And we're doing this because we want to encourage people to download the app and to be able to pull the news up at any time from wherever you are. We'll be making additional improvements on our app as well, and the app will take you to the website, and we're just working constantly to expand. We are subscribers to Associated Press, CNN, the Black Press USA, and a whole number of news sources. So we are constantly looking for news every day from a variety of places to try to bring things to you that'll be of interest, because our interest in news is a little different than other people's interests. And the other side of it is that the Black Press, which is now in its 197th year, is still considered one of the most trusted messengers in terms of bringing news to you, that you can count on what you hear and what you see. And so our editorials are run in over 240 black media outlets around the country, this country rather, and we have people, as you know, Dr. Thompson, in at least 10 to 12 other countries that follow us and keep up with our paper, and we keep up with them. We track them on a weekly basis just as they're tracking us. And so this is all a larger investment to keep an informed community so that we're not just limited. Because, since we've been here with the Voice and Viewpoint in the past 20 years or so, 20 to 25 years, at least 13 newspapers in San Diego County have gone out of business. And yet we're still here weekly, meeting the needs as we try to do so. So we're excited about it. Want to say a couple of things as we start off. We have a new police chief. He takes office next month. And one of the things we did editorially this week was encourage the chief that when he does take office, he's not new to San Diego. He's been on the force 25 years. He knows he's very much a part of neighborhood policing and the whole bit. And so we're encouraging him when he takes office to institute a series of community town hall meetings where he comes and he gets before the people in the community himself and he hears from them directly in terms of their thoughts, views, and concerns about the police department. And I think that'll be a major step. I know he met with some individuals and other people want to meet with him, but I think it's important that he opened himself up to meet with all of the community. And so we're hoping that that will take place.
Dr. Warren, with that being said, what I'm looking for him not only to do that, but also to bring his what I call frontline staff with him for each area that he does these town halls in. I think that one of the things that lack many times is people really don't know the power structure of their police department that is serving their community. And so they're going to one person, not realizing that that person is not the person that makes a lot of the decisions for the area. I know recently on Black Men and Women United, you have brought up a portion or a point that in a certain neighborhood, there was a lot of speeding and everything else, and that the person that was on the line was saying, okay, we're going to get more motor officers out there to check that out. And lo and behold, the next day, there were so many tickets given out, people said, okay, this is a no speed zone.
Yeah, and they stayed with it too. So
Yeah.
those are important steps that that we need to have taken, and we're excited that we're doing those things. I wanted to take this opportunity, Dr. Thompson, too, at the beginning of our discussion to remind people that tomorrow night at the Livewell Southeastern Livewell Center, which is right there at Euclid and Market Street, in the Tubman Chavez Community Room, the Voice and Viewpoint is holding a town hall meeting. And the theme for this meeting, it'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. The theme of this meeting is law enforcement, hate crimes, healing, and solutions. And so we're going to be hearing from a number of people and welcoming comment from folks. And we're almost trying to make these meetings the formation of what you might otherwise call support groups, where people who have issues, they're comfortable in sharing the problems or experiences that they've had, and it's multi-ethnic. And so it's not just African American or African, it's Asian, it's Chinese, it's Filipino, Vietnamese. We've reached out to incorporate as many communities as we could, Somali, Sudanese, Haitian, inviting people to feel comfortable to come and share their experiences during that time frame. And we're going to stream this event. We're going to archive it and stream it as well. And so we're doing that. And then next Tuesday, because Monday is a holiday, it's Memorial Day, so next Tuesday we will have another Biscuit, Grits, and Politics. This particular breakfast meeting will be at the George Stephen Senior Center. The theme will be mental health and the impact of hate on our communities in terms of talking about mental health. And so this one is free, but I want to tell you at this point that it's closed off. We extended it 2 days, and we closed it this afternoon. So those people who have already registered in terms of signing up, they will get tickets and they will be entitled to a free breakfast on Voice and Viewpoint when they come. You are still welcome to come if you choose to, but you will not be able to eat because we're not making food preparation beyond the numbers that we already have.
Now, Dr. Warren, so you telling me that when I come, if I did not register, I
can't
get,
eat.
I can't get a cup of coffee?
Yeah, no, you can't eat.
Can I borrow a biscuit from a table?
If somebody want to give you one,
Well, one of the things that we're trying to do in creating these different platforms, the Voice and Viewpoint is trying to bring us together to allow us to have real conversations. And this whole Stop the Hate and having different forms around the hate that is experiencing here in San Diego. We just recently saw a shooting that is being investigated as another hate crime in Hillcrest and in North Park. Thank God it was pellet guns and BB guns, but there's a gentleman that actually took a pellet to the eye,
Yes.
and I believe that he might be losing his eye because of that. So the charges go up and up and up, especially with hate crimes.
yes. And so we're these are things that we're doing in terms of reaching out to the community, and we hope that that you are welcome to come to the breakfast because there's going to be good discussion there, and we probably would give you a cup of coffee, Dr. Thompson.
Yeah.
But in terms of us paying for the breakfast, we had to have a cutoff point and preparation time for the caterers to get it all done. So, and this is not costing. In the past, the biscuit grits breakfast has only been $20 a person. So this one is free, and we have biscuit grits, catfish, scrambled eggs, turkey sausage, the biscuits and fruit for those who want it. So we're going to still offer that kind of menu. Only difference is this time you pay by signing up, and if you haven't signed up yet, then you can't sign up for the breakfast at this point, but you certainly will be welcome, and the staff will be at the door to help you.
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to also remind people that we are at the George Stevens Senior Center. It's a different location, but we believe it's a great location for us to have these type of conversations. And shout out to Ms. Pope, who is keeping that center vibrant and also making sure it's available to the community. Very excited about being a part of this campaign about Stop the Hate. A lot of people consistently don't know that when they look at hate crimes in America, but especially in California, African Americans, believe it or not, although we only still make up about 5 to 6% of California, we are still the population that has the highest rate of hate crimes done to them. And we have to really have conversations about why is this, and why have we as even a community have not been successful to navigate past it.
Well, but it's always been there, and some of it, first it was just discrimination. People didn't want you because they didn't like your color. Then we started talking about diversity, and now people are making equity a buzzword. Most of them have no idea what equity means in terms of inclusion. So all of these issues are important because we found at our last town hall meeting incidents in the school systems. We found Muslim girls being harassed because of their head wraps and the way they dressed, and many were afraid to say anything because they were new to us, to the system, and so people are not comfortable because in many instances, the countries where people come from, they don't have police relations like we have. The police are not friendly toward them, even though they're not friendly toward us most of the time.
Yeah.
But these are real things that have to be discussed in a hope of preventing and enlightening and educating so that we don't have more of those negative situations.
And I think that we also have to pay attention to hate crimes that take place in the school system with our African American males and females. I know in the Poway district, we have a young lady that has been consistently bullied in the Poway Unified School District, and when she decided to retaliate it after the other young lady kicked her and tripped her and almost made her fall, then the sheriff department was calling and threatening her and saying if she did this and she did that, and ultimately that family had to leave that district and go to San Diego Unified School District. And the sad thing I feel about it is that there was no civil rights organization, i.e. the NAACP San Diego, that could step up. They're using NAACP North County. But we have not seen the concerted effort of qualified leadership so that when these things happen and somebody says, I'm going to call the NAACP, that it actually means something. And we haven't seen that in quite some time.
Well, I'm glad you raised that point because I've experienced so many times people saying they want to call the NAACP. But I remember over the past 25 years, especially working with the NAACP, and my late wife was a local president. And she was raised up with the NAACP in her hometown in Florida. But, I remember over the years when the membership was only like $12 a year, and we were always trying to get people to join so that the NAACP would have resources to help the needs. And it's always been, I want to call on the NAACP like I'm entitled to demand that they do something, but I don't support the NAACP. I don't have membership. I don't do any of those things that are so important that would give me that entitlement. And so we've got to get to the point where we start supporting the organizations almost the same way we do when we buy an insurance policy. We don't wait until we have a crisis. We get the insurance in advance. We pay the premium so there's something there for when we need it. So we need to make the investment. The local NAACP here has been through a whole bunch of things in the past 3 or 4 years before the pandemic and leading through it, going into receivership, removing the president. God only knows, as officers, people left. You were one of the officers. You put time. Everybody was volunteering. And recently, there have been a series of stories in the media about NAACP members nationwide who are volunteers, a volunteer organization, while Derek Johnson, the national president, is making over in excess of $400,000 a year in a salary with expenses and wanting to get a raise. And so, we've fallen into a place where, because some people are doing better, others think that everything is okay. But the problems of yesterday are still with us today. Inequity in pay, discrimination in housing, employment, all of the issues that we've had. They just put on different suits and clothes, and many of them are hiding in the internet. The very fact that you have algorithms now that are capable of discriminating against people of color because of their speech. Yeah, so it's gotten more sophisticated, but it's still here.
Yeah, and the sad thing about it is that currently it looks like the NAACP is actually imploding from the inside out. They're not just a few chapters that are in receivership, but there's been some chapters that have been totally shut down. But
Right.
more than anything else, there are a lot of chapters that are in receivership or something is going on, and there's so many board members that the board members don't want to get caught up, so they just vote whatever they told to vote. And so we're not really seeing true representation, and those that are representing and are standing up for right automatically seem to be suspended. And for the sad thing about it is, when you disagree with the national NAACP or you're not on the same page, the first thing they do is they revoke your lifetime membership. So, Dr. Warren, I just want to ask the question. If I paid and I'm a lifetime member, how can you revoke my lifetime membership and not return my money?
Well, you know what? They got lawyers and there's litigation going, and the litigation that's going on from within is crippling the organization.
Yeah.
And the NAACP as one entity, people need to understand, is different from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund,
Yeah.
which is another whole separate nonprofit entity, is not mixed with the NAACP membership organization. And so we got all of these issues going on, and it's very timely because this past weekend, the president was in Detroit speaking to a NAACP group, and he was at Morehouse in Atlanta. And, we kind of shifting gears, but a lot of us feel that, Mr. Biden, you're on the verge of losing the black vote. You're not making the effort to recruit the black male vote, number one. You're taking for granted because black people put you in office, starting with Clyburn, making the rescue endorsement from South Carolina, that it's going to be okay. And because you have a black female for vice president, you think it's okay. But she's not in touch with the grassroots people. She never was in terms of it. I mean, people gave her a pass because it's good to have a sister in that position. It was good to have her become the first woman attorney general in California, and have her be the first black woman to go to the Senate from this state. So all those things were good. But at the end of the day, we have some real problems coming up as we are just a few months away from this election. Okay. Donald Trump could be in his orange jumpsuit at this point and still get elected. And one of the complaints that we have as the black press is that the Democratic National Committee, which is boasting all the money that they have raised, they don't spend any dollars with us in terms of helping us help them get out the black vote. All right. And they're talking about going to battleground states. And I was sharing with someone close to the White House today that you better wake up and realize that every state is a battleground state if you want to get elected.
Yeah.
Okay, because the opposition has learned a lot from last year, and I keep putting this scenario out there. Johnson, who was Speaker, went to New York and stood up with Trump, which was a degrading of his role as a number 2 in line for the presidency. So if that wasn't bad enough, think about what would happen if the Republicans maintain control of the House. Biden wins the popular election. They go to the House for the certification by the Electoral College. It's not like a Pelosi who stayed up at night and made them certify in spite of the attack that took place hours before outside. Johnson won't do that. They will throw it back to the states. They will throw it into the court. If it gets to the Supreme Court, we already know from Alito, Thomas, and the whole scenario that the court has bought into Trump lock, stock, and barrel. And we already know that in the states where they can do it, the Republicans and the ultra-right have replaced election officials with people from their standpoint who still confess the lie that Biden didn't win the election in spite of all the court cases. And so we're sitting back, and the only defense we have right now against what's coming is to get every living soul we know that's capable registered and to the polls for the November election, or it's all over.
Yeah, and one of the sad things that I saw is that, especially when it comes to African American males, there was a gentleman on social media and had a T-shirt that said "Ends for Donald Trump," and his speech was about if he can get off all these many times and he's being mistreated in the court system and everything, I'm always down for somebody that's trying to fight the system. And so, and I said, now, I ain't going to talk about him, but, he looks snagger-tooth and everything else. But my whole energy is, but there's still a vote, and we're going to have to appeal to everybody. And Biden's going to have to, what they say, chop some wood, get it together. But he's going to have to give some major concessions to move forward, especially in the black community, because, and this is the thing that, that frustrates me, and I'm going back to the NAACP, and that is Derek Johnson was so far up the Democrats' line of "I'm gonna do whatever you said" that even though he knew that there was a horrible candidate for a deputy secretary of state, he still endorsed it without ever talking to his local body or anybody else, just because the Democrats wanted it. We can't be just Democrats just because they want it. We have to literally do our research. And the bottom line is that I'm not a big Joe Biden fan, but I definitely cannot support crazy man Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is important what you're saying, Dr. Thompson, because one of the things you need to look at is that when Stacey Abrams was running for governor the last time, she was putting so much into the abortion issue that she was not dealing with the black male vote. She wasn't dealing with gas, food, housing, and all those issues that the ultra-right conservative white candidate dealt with and got elected. So that's one major scenario right there. Also remember that when Trump brought into talking to the Kardashians and he made that rule change, got that law signed that said that if you went to prison before the age of 21, you could get out. All right. Now, that rule came home to my own family because I have a nephew that went to jail at the age of 20 because he was present when a person who committed a murder discussed it, and they arrested him for listening and gave him 80 years and said he would never get out. And he served 22 years, but because of Trump's rule and because of the Innocence Project, he came out of prison last November on his birthday. Those kind of cases, those kind of black people, not that my nephew would, but these other black people are saying, well, I don't care what Trump did. I can see that he's being attacked just like me, and I'm going to go for it. And then I'm getting ready to run a series of articles about the Heritage Foundation Project 2025, which is the blueprint that they have laid out for the next Republican president, which looks like it could be Donald Trump, that disbands education, abolishes Homeland Security, gets rid of the Federal Trade Commission, gets rid of FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, if you will, strips the Department of Justice, allows the military to be brought in under 1800 law so that they can go after people who disagree with that president. And in effect, we will move from being a democracy because he already will control Congress and he's already controlling the courts. So in the executive, he will be able to fire people that he wants to. And so when Trump raised that hypothetical some time ago about he could kill someone on the Avenue of the Americas and nothing would happen, he's headed in that direction with the Supreme Court holding up on ruling on the issue of immunity for the president.
Yeah.
And so we can't sit back because, Dr. Thompson, at the same time this is happening, we got a crisis at the border. We got people flooding into this country. It's not being dealt with. They're going to take jobs that we should have. They're going to further erode our whole system. Healthcare system isn't what it was. The plan that they're giving to the new president will abolish Affordable Care Act, and it will alter Social Security so that it will no longer be there in terms of what we know. And I'm going to be going through all of these proposed changes because they wrote a plan in 2016, July 2016, and Trump followed that plan when he got elected, and he started down the checklist of that plan in January when he went into office. Okay, so this is 15. He went into office 2016. So
Well-
these are things we got to be concerned about.
Well, maybe we should pull that document out and put it right next to the Willie Lynch papers and see how it lines up.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you're going to see a lot of similarities in the philosophy of the Willie Lynch papers and what the Republicans have in store. And here's the thing about it. This is the thing that I want to tell people consistently, that at the end of the day, it's not going to just affect people of color. It's going to affect disenfranchised people, and believe it or not, for my Caucasian counterparts, some of y'all going to take a bigger hit than anybody else.
Oh, yes.
Because you're going to finally find out that you ain't in that class, and you can get the same thing happening to you.
Well, that's a very important point because they always try to present it as if it's a race thing for black and brown folks. But even the welfare issue itself, that welfare issue, there were always more white people on welfare than black and brown.
Yeah.
Always have been. And so this issue is an economic issue with the covering of race over it. And the whole idea is not just make America great again, but I think they ought to change the G to a W because the plan seems to be make America white again.
Yeah. But, and here's the funny thing about it is I don't even know if Donald Trump is interested in making America white again as much as he's interested in making it Donald Trump land. That whatever he says goes. Whatever he does is going to be okay. The Me Too movement, they could throw that out the door if he gets president again, because he's just gonna walk through the White House and be like, "Come here," because the bottom line is that he's Teflon Don. He keeps getting away with it, and I believe that's the reason why so many stars are now being brought out and being put on blast for bad behavior. Anybody, if you notice, I ain't seen too many Republican stars getting caught up.
No.
Is all the Democratic stars that normally help out with the election that they're getting right now, and they did the deed. And because you
yeah.
did the deed, ain't nobody going to defend what you've done. But the bottom line is that it's also very interesting that at this time in this season, it seemed like everybody done found cameras. Everybody done found back tapes, but they can't find nothing on Donald.
Well,
Interesting.
but it's reached a point now where it really doesn't matter what they find on Donald because he's done so much that those who are using him as a vehicle for their agenda, they don't care what else he's done. They don't care if he gets indicted, which I don't think he will. And I think that when they finish with this trial, it's going to be a hung jury, and he's going to walk. The federal case is not going to go anywhere because of the Supreme Court. None of his cases are going to come up for trial before the November election. And so that's going to give him a clear, free running hand. The only question right now on their side is who's going to be the vice presidential running mate. And I believe that all of those members of Congress who went to New York and stood and kissed the ring and stuff, that they're all lining up to try to get a shot at being number two. And I think that's why the speaker went, because he hopes to be the vice presidential candidate.
Well, what about Pistol Packing Patty? You think she got a shot at it?
Who?
Is it the governor or the senator or whatever?
North Dakota?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he would not take somebody like that. First of all, she's too much like him, and that's going to be a conflict.
Okay.
No, he needs somebody that will be like Pence was. Pence was quiet and still quiet. Johnson is establishing that he'll only speak when he's asked to speak. Okay, and he knows better, but that's what he's going to do. Okay, so no, it's the real issue. I think that the American people should be focusing on the House of Representatives and the Senate seats. Here in California, we have a former baseball player running against what's his name, Adams, who was a part of the January committee, and he's from the Pasadena area.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to lose a Senate seat.
Yeah.
And we got 5 Republicans in Northern California where we ought to have Democrats controlling those seats so that we can get control back of the House. So we can't afford to lose. And then you got members of the Senate like Christian Sinema, who have gone independent the same way Bernie Sanders. So Sanders will vote with the Democrats, but the truth of the matter is that, it's getting to be very hard to get more than 51. And they got it right now, but the Senate could flip.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is I think that we cannot be cynical at this time, and the answer to all of this is going to be the black and brown vote. And we're going to have to get out there and the game plan. We've been talking about game plan over and over again, but the game plan has to be register people to vote, have the conversation, have the dialogue, have them engaged. Usually, the Democratic Party has to realize that there are certain places that they can go to and they can put money in and get great results. One thing is the barbershop. You know what I'm saying? Because the conversations in the barbershop are just amazing. People are having real hardcore conversations, especially at Big Cuts, that is going to be opening up, are having their grand opening this Saturday. Shout out to Mark Ritchie and Chris Cuts for their hard work and getting back and staying in our community. But, the conversation is real when you get into the barbershop and you get into the beauty salons. And, I'm at a barbershop, that there is a sign for one of the barbers says, "Yes, I voted for Trump. So what?" and every time somebody come in, they be like, he a Trump supporter. They be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go over here." But the bottom line is the rich conversation. And the funny thing about it is so many great points are being made that sign changes from time to time. So I'm trying to say that we're going to have real conversation. And this little rumble in the jungle type, we're going to meet and we're going to debate. My whole thing is that will you debate, and then for me personally, this is me. You know, we call, President Biden is still the president of the United States. For anybody to be allowed to openly, with any dignity, to call him Crooked Joe and all this other stuff is just really showing a disrespect. I believe if Donald Trump gets back in office, first thing he gonna do, first of all, Joe Biden's picture will never be up in the White House while he's there, but he gonna go in and remove Obama,
Yep.
everything that look of any ethnicity, he gonna get rid of.
Oh, there's no question that he will. And it's unfortunate because we're joking about Trump, but Trump is serious. Trump is just as serious as cancer, and so we can't be in a joke mood. Which brings us back down, Dr. Thompson, to our own local scenario. San Diego has always been considered an anesthetized environment where people just don't get excited. They don't do a lot in terms of the issues that come up. And yet, we wear the false label of America's finest city, number 8 largest city in the country, and yet we have less cohesiveness in terms of black people than any major city back east. And so we don't seem to want to coalesce and come together. It might be the freedom here that we live where we want. We do what we want. We got the relaxed lifestyle. We don't have to go to church if we don't want to. We don't have to engage in the social pressures that come on other people. And I think that these things leave us somewhat numb to the extent to which we need to get involved to help each other.
Yeah, and I think that when you live in a state and in a city where it's just like laid back and easy going, you don't see the importance of fighting because you don't feel like you have a real fight. But in this election, this fight will hurt all of America, including California. And so we can't sit back and let a baseball player take a Senate seat, when he couldn't, he did his thing, but he is older than Trump, I believe.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything other than the fact that he was associated with the Chargers.
No, the Padres.
I mean the Padres.
Yeah.
So the baseball thing is like, Trump rode on the fact that he had been a TV personality.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger rode on the fact that he had been a movie star in terms of becoming governor. Ronald Reagan, same thing, movie star.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason they didn't try to run Schwarzenegger for president because the Constitution required that the president has to be a natural-born citizen and not a naturalized citizen.
Exactly.
So he knew, and there were people talking about trying to change the law just to make that happen. So that's the product of not having our students understand government or the importance of government. Like most Americans, until this last scenario with January 6th, probably never understood that it was really the Electoral College that determines who's the president and not the popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
So the Founding Fathers were always dishonest from Jump Street.
Yeah.
To have people have a false sense of participation when they had a plan in their back pocket to make sure that it didn't get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And here we are today, still being a victim of the plans. And I wanted to make an observation. Where the NAACP failed during the pandemic, Black Lives Matter stepped up to the plate and set a tone. And where Biden failed, though he did Build Back Better and all these other things, he didn't deliver on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. He didn't deliver on the George Floyd Act. He didn't show the same concern for those two pieces of legislation when they were bottled up as he showed for reacting to the Supreme Court overruling Roe v. Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And for a person who spent 37 years in the Senate on the Hill, he should have known or should know enough to know how to have leveraged the presidency to deal with the filibuster to get those bills passed.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, he is not as concerned about us. We can call him Old Joe, rode the train, friend with everybody. But Joe is going to find himself out of office in November because black people don't even have to vote for Trump. and I make this point this week in editorial, all black people have to do is just stay home.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just don't vote. And if we don't vote, which many of us don't, then that will be the same as a vote for Trump to put him in.
Yeah.
Because Biden will lose without the black vote. And when we look at the Latino vote, let's not get it twisted, because the Latinos in Florida support him because they represent a whole different class of Spanish-speaking people than Chicano and the other ones who are the workers coming across the border seeking to be absorbed into this system. Okay? Those people, that's the only group in the census that has non-white Latinos and white Latinos. So
Yeah.
even the census makes the distinction.
Yeah.
And now we just added the MENA to the group of identified specifics, the Mid-Eastern North African folks
Yeah.
who were tired of being just grouped in with white people and wanted to have their own census status.
Well, one of the things, Dr. Warren, that I think that we have to be very mindful of is that we don't have the luxury of sitting at home and not voting. Our voice needs to be heard, because we're going to hear it after it's all said and done, one way or another. And so I always tell people, I would rather for you to vote and let your vote be heard than for you to sit at home and then complain later. We have to now activate our community, and the trusted messengers are going to have to get forward, get beyond ourselves, get beyond the tiredness, to get beyond the sense of frustration. And we need to come to the table and tell the Democratic Party what we need, what we want. They're either going to listen or they're not going to listen. But there's going to be a consequence for not involving truly the black community, the black press, the black church, all of these other entities that people will connect with and listen to.
Well, let's look at our local game plan, okay? Because we have major elections coming up in California. We have a situation, we got to reelect a mayor here, but most people don't see a real choice in terms of who's running against, because you have people running who really don't show any qualifications or reasons why you should support them in terms of changing gears. So that's a major issue. We have a chance to impact this budget. We now see the latest report on the homelessness just came out, and it's showing that the homeless numbers are up some 340 over a year ago. We're seeing that people are going from housing to living in their cars to losing their vehicles. 1 in 5 is living in their cars. By the time they lose the vehicle, then they're on the street. And so there's no way we can address the issue of homelessness in San Diego without addressing the issue of landlords being out of control with their rents.
Yeah.
It's out of control, and we're not dealing with it.
Yeah, and I think that those are issues that need to be on the ballot, and we need to deal with it, because the bottom line is, somebody wants to wear the pride that we're the most expensive city in the country. Well, why does that make us proud? You know what I'm saying? It'd be different if we were saying we are the richest per capita city in the country, or in our United States. That means that what comes the expense comes the money. But if we don't per capita have that type of resources, then again, it's still supply and demand. And I think that we should look at laws that says that, number one, rents can't be raised more than 3% per year. Number one. Number two is based on the area of your property, there should be cap-offs. You know what I'm saying? I think that right now, even with the realtors, the people that own real estate, it should be said, based on where your property is in your area, this is the median income in your area. And so you need to be able to price yourself in the median income, or you're going to leave it vacant, and we're going to charge you for every time your unit is vacant.
But Dr. Thompson, a lot of people don't realize that 49% of the residents of San Diego County, which is one of the largest of the 58 counties in California, 49% of the people here are renters. And if you don't get a coalition effort between renters and homeowners in terms of what's happening with the quality of life, then we won't get a change. The judges sitting on the bench are landlords. And so, a judge who's a landlord, he going to rule against, the industry that he's making his money in. Nobody raises questions about their conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
the way they've set the system up to make it work. But we have some major issues. We still have growing lines of people waiting for food, Dr. Thompson. Food challenged people. We see it every week. We see people in line where there's distribution of food. People come, and we got food deserts. We still don't have additional stores. We still aren't giving the kind of support that we need to give to the food bank or Feeding San Diego.
Well, Dr. Warren, help me out with this, because I don't think that black people are hungry in San Diego, because I've watched the lines, I've seen the lines, and I'm not seeing hardly any African American people in the lines.
I tell you, wherever there are lines, there are always very few African Americans. It's the same thing at Christmas time. It's the same thing at Thanksgiving time. They're giving away turkeys. They're giving away toys. You're going to see the Asians. You're going to see the Latinos. You might even see one or two whites. But the number of blacks is sparse, far and few between. Mm-hmm. And in 25 years, I haven't figured it out yet. Is it because we're too proud to get in line? Some of us will, but not a sufficient number. Mm-hmm. Even the churches in the community, like Encanto Baptist or Total Deliverance, that do food distributions. Encanto, the fourth Thursday of each month. Total Deliverance, working with the Feed San Diego, does mm-hmm. it every week. Mm-hmm. But the people who are lined up for the food are not African American.
Exactly.
Okay. And so this is something we don't come together and talk about. In back east, churches have, well, I know, for instance, Bayview has a food pantry. And it keeps the pantry and it gives food to people every week, and they can afford to do that. Mm-hmm. A number of our churches used to have food pantries. We used to have food pantries. Back east, they got food pantries that are a big deal. People are replenishing them every week in terms of giving out food to the members and the folks who come. We're not on that page here in terms of that kind of help. So these are things that we need to look at, and some of us are still trying to reach out and show that we care and be of help. But it's a real issue.
Yeah, and I think that, just circle back around to having a conversation about hate and stopping the hate. We also got to just also start with that whole thing about self-hate, because there's a lot of self-hate within our community, and the division that we have within communities are literally stopping the growth of the community. And we're really now going to have to really do self-evaluations. Before you take communion, it says, let a man or woman examine themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think we as community people now have to begin to examine ourselves and ask ourselves, are we the stumbling block, instead of the lifting station?
Well, this is true, Dr. Thompson, because, there was a time that our pastors were strong in terms of organizations. They were meeting, they were involved. They were out there helping people. We had one caller made the observation about the high rises. You go downtown, everywhere you turn, these 30-story buildings, just like New York back east. Mm-hmm. These buildings who were they built for? I have tried several times to secure from the building and permits the number of permits that have been granted in the past 5 years for units to determine how many vacant units do we have available as opposed to affordable? Yeah. Because they always want to talk to us about affordable housing, but that's not the same as talking about available housing. Mm-hmm. And the available housing, I believe there's enough available housing in San Diego to house everybody on the street that wants to be housed. The question is, who owns it? And the joint venture capitalists and investors that built these buildings, they don't want to see that happen. Mm-hmm. And so it's not taking place, but we're not approaching it. Yeah. The commission is not approaching it. The city council is not raising the kind of questions. And they're giving out permits every week, but not questioning what we already have and what's being done.
And I'm really curious to see for all the places that are being built, and they have to give so many to low income, if people are really low income, are they just playing the system?
Well, what's low income has changed now. because all the pay raises that we've seen, and there's more coming in July, which will be the new fiscal year. There'll be pay raises for city employees, the city council, the mayor, all these people getting, teachers getting pay raises, the police getting pay raises. And the pay raises, all they mean is that when the pay raise come, the inflation comes with it because everything that's being sold goes up because there's no money. And so you really, it's like the dog chasing his tail in terms of people trying to get ahead. We got a situation now where it's $15 an hour fast food workers, so how much is a hamburger going to cost you going forward? And we got all of these things still kicking in, but we're not having our discussions zero in on the change. Because people who work, you can't live here. If you work here, you can't live here because your paycheck would be consumed. The statistics suggest that a person must make between $25 and $30 an hour just to be able to pay their rent and stay in San Diego.
Yeah.
Everybody's not making that kind of money.
Yeah. And so I think that, as we move forward, I think that every city, every county has to look at their pertinent issues. And as we're voting, we should vote for the national, but we also need to pay very close attention to what's going on locally because, again, that's where we live. A lot of things that are being happening in the White House and federal many times doesn't affect us as quick as it affects us locally.
It's delayed impact.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to encourage everybody. This is the year to get out and vote. All the young people, this is the year to get out and vote. All the cynical people, this is the year to get out to vote. All those folks that said, I ain't never vote because it's against my religion, this is the year that God is telling you it's okay. You can vote. It ain't going to cost you your salvation, but we're going to need everybody's voice to truly be heard. Now, again, you might not agree with us. You might think that Donald Trump is the best thing since sliced bread, and I would just say that he is the best thing since they came out with moldy bread as a delicacy.
Well,
and if that's what y'all want, that's what you're going to get.
Well, this is what I want to say, Dr. Thompson, and I've done this over the years. If people are really concerned about understanding how government works, I am more than happy to open the doors of the Voice and Viewpoint, to give government one-on-one classes. I've taught government and politics for years, and degrees and credentials in it. And many times we don't participate because we don't understand the importance of our participation. I think it was back in the 60s we had a Supreme Court case that the theory was, the whole idea was one man, one vote. And we're at that point today. See, what we don't realize is that while people are putting money with the Latino voting blocks because every day so many Latinos are turning 18 years of age and they're registering as fast as they become of age to register.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, every vote is going to count because all it does is take one vote to make a difference.
Exactly.
But if we don't vote, and Secretary of State Shirley Weber, when she was in the Assembly, got the bill passed to restore the franchise to ex-felons who have served their time. So we don't have an excuse for this other than, I don't feel like it, I don't want to, it doesn't matter. Well, no, it won't matter if you don't participate.
Exactly.
And most of the time, you only hear what I'm saying from people who are on the ballot. I'm not on the ballot. I'm not running for dog catcher. You couldn't draft me to run for anything. But I know the value of us getting up, that people died for us to have the right to vote. They died for that right.
Yeah.
Okay? And we are squandering it on their graves by saying, I don't want to.
Exactly.
I don't care to.
Exactly. And so it is about getting out to do the real work. It is about letting your voice be heard. And here's the fun thing about it. For a lot of you guys that, we always tell you to call in at 858-251-6111. We always want you to call in and be a part. But tomorrow night, live in living color, you can meet us at the Wellness Center, Southeastern San Diego, at the corner of Euclid and Market. At 6 o'clock, we are going to be having a town hall meeting around Stop the Hate and law enforcement. I think Dr. Warren is very apropos that we're having this conversation right now. And I know for a fact that Captain Ben Kelso, said that he is not only going to be there himself, but he's actually going to bring people that deal exactly what this is about in the room. While although he'll be in the room, he's bringing people with him. You know, we've talked to the Urban League; they're going to be present. We've talked to several other people. So now we challenge you all. You know, the community, the people that have a voice, and we have the mic, and we want you to come out and let's have real conversations. But not only just the conversation, but come with some solutions. You know,
Suggestions, because
Yeah.
all change starts with a suggestion. And you know, as one caller was saying, we need this government class. I'm very happy to help people understand how our discussion goes from interest group to pressure group to drafts to policy to law. And when we understand that public policy is money, public policy is what determines who gets what, then we need to be at the table participating.
Yeah.
And Shirley Chisholm used to say, if you're not at the table, grab a chair and pull it up to the table, as opposed to if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You could be on the menu, but it's better to have your chair than to be on the menu in terms of being there.
Yeah.
And so we want you to come out. I want to say this. I have a piece this week talking about the first Memorial Day, which African Americans, former slaves in Charleston, South Carolina, were responsible for. And I want you to read the story, or you can go to the internet and look at it, and look at how those former slaves dug up the bodies of former Union soldier prisoners who died in this prison camp at the racetrack there in Charleston, and buried them with honor because these people had died for their freedom. And they got together, and they said some 10,000 people turned out to put flowers on the graves and to make speeches in the mark. And that was the beginning of Memorial Day, which was later co-opted by the whites in the South and didn't become officially a day in terms of the Monday that we celebrate now until 1962, I believe it was. But while I was dealing with that, you know, I also am preparing a story on the number of black men who have won the Congressional Medal of Honor from the very beginning. Because when we talk about Memorial Day, remember the first person to die in Boston when the Civil War started was Crispus Attucks, a black man. And there's a statue there today of him and the three other people who died that same day. But he was the one who experienced the first shot heard around the world. And so we just have a whole slew of history. And if you think of people who were oppressed and being discriminated against and treated in foul manners, who still had the heart to fight for the country that was depriving them the same citizenship, and did it with such valiance that against the odds, you had to give them the nation's highest medal. That is so significant. And here today, we're complaining because somebody disagrees and they call me a name and they don't want me there and I don't like the way they looked at me and all of that. Let's get out of self and get back to being concerned about the collective, or there won't be any of us.
Yeah. With that said, that is the final word from right here from the desk of the editor. We pray that you all have an amazing night, and we pray that we see you on tomorrow at the Live Well Center, Southeastern San Diego, right there at the corner of Euclid and Market. Again, from the desk of the editor, we say good night.